Larita is charming, intelligent, and fearless. No sooner had the brave racer won the Monaco Grand Prix than fate sent her love in the face of the young Englishman John Whittaker. Without thinking twice, the couple gets married and heads to England to visit John's ancestral home and introduce Larita to his family members. However, the Whittaker family can't be called the relatives of a dream. John's mother, Veronica, runs the estate with an iron fist, trying to protect it from complete ruin. Father James, who hasn't yet fully recovered from his return from the First World War, is distant and cold. One of their daughters, Marion, has an abnormal preoccupation with death. The other, Hilda, lives on gossip and newspaper clippings. The butler compliments the family, imperturbable fervor. Larita and John rush to his home, unaware of the scandal caused by the telegram about their wedding. The mother, who expected to see her daughter-in-law, an Englishwoman from a good family, is in despair. The sisters are outraged, and only James maintains his usual calmness. But, decency above all. Larita, slightly shocked by the size of the house, is greeted with smiles. Veronica's is fake, Hilda's is enthusiastic, James's is sincere, and John carries her over the threshold in his arms. The slight tenseness of the situation and the shabby appearance of the room prepared for the young don't bother Larita. Left alone, she and John fool around, kiss, and rejoice in their happiness. In the evening, guests arrive at the estate. These are the children of Lord Hurst, Sarah, with whom John was close in his youth, and his friend Philip, Hilda's loved one. Amid the meeting, Larita descends from the second floor and immediately makes a splash with her magnificent appearance. Even Sarah secretly whispers to John that she understands and forgives him. At dinner, the conversation turns into hunting, considered one of the season's main events. Everyone's in anticipation of this entertainment, except for Larita, who doesn't like the slaughter of harmless animals. Unexpectedly for everyone, the girl's supported by James, which makes her draw attention to himself. John's father seems interesting and sarcastic to Larita, and she later informs her husband about it. He warns that you shouldn't openly support your father because he and Veronica have a complicated relationship. After the war, James traveled around Europe for a long time, drinking and having fun, and although he eventually returned to his home and Veronica accepted a prodigal husband, the cold between them remained. Morning comes. Veronica invites Larita to wander around the greenhouse to get to know each other better. Although the pollen allergy makes the girl sneeze, she tries to keep the conversation going. But Veronica discovers some shocking facts. First, Larita was already married, and her husband had died. Secondly, she's a professional racer who earns her living from this. Thirdly, the girl doesn't plan to linger in the countryside. She wants to settle in the city, continue to race a car, and offers John to find a job there. Who would have thought? Veronica likes the daughter-in-law even less and less. It becomes even more unpleasant for her when Lord Hurst, upon meeting, compliments Larita and calls her Mrs. Whittaker. Previously, only Veronica had that title. As if this is not enough, a little later, the mistress of the house finds the girl calmly talking to the servants, which goes beyond all the limits of correct behavior. Friendly relations with his father offset Larita's failures with John's mother. The girl conquers James with sincerity and dissimilarity to others. She becomes ecstatic at the sight of the motorcycle, which James' family ignores, and she's not afraid to get dirty with engine oil. Despite this, Larita honestly answers questions about the deceased husband. It seems that John's father is the only one in the family who doesn't condemn his daughter-in-law, but luck is not on Larita's side. Problems rain down on her. She wants to make friends with Veronica's little dog, Poppy, but by negligence, she accidentally sits on the dog, and it dies. That's a catastrophe. Frightened, Larita is worried. She tries to hide the little body from the hostess, and only Ferber's help allows her to take out and bury Poppy in the garden. Well, at least the servants are on her side. However, the failures don't end there. At a charity evening where Larita and Hilda are supposed to dance the can-can, the American woman jokingly says that this dance is performed without underwear. Who could have imagined that John's sister would take her words seriously and shock the decent audience with her dance? Now the whole family is up in arms against Larita, and Hilda is sure that she did it on purpose to deprive the girl of her last chance to get married, and meanwhile, the American had two husbands. Veronica asks Larita a frank question.
Is it true you've had as many lovers as they say?
Larita takes the hit flawlessly and drives the family into even more shock when, instead of justifying herself, she calmly announces,
"Of course it's not true, Mrs. Whittaker. Hardly any of them actually loved me."
However, in reality, Larita is depressed and openly reproaches John for not protecting her. Instead of words of support, he sits at the piano and begins playing a peppy song, turning everything into a joke. Larita doesn't have time to recover as desperate cries are heard from the corridor. The dogs dug up Poppy's grave, and now she can't hide the truth anymore. Embarrassed, Larita tries to justify herself and even offers to buy Veronica a new dog, but she is inconsolable. Now the whole female part of the Whittaker family considers her a real monster. All of Larita's efforts to improve relations invariably fail. Remembering that Thanksgiving's coming, she goes to the kitchen and prepares a festive dinner herself, but this makes a rather unpleasant impression on the hostess. Is it a lady's business to stand at the stove and communicate with the servants? Dinner almost fails, but James saves the situation. He willingly begins to eat and does it with such pleasure that the rest follow the example of a man. Frustrated, Veronica allows herself a little revenge by placing vases of flowers around the house, to which her daughter-in-law is allergic. Well, this is war. The vases fly out the window, and an Art Nouveau painting is delivered to the house the next morning. Not only does it not fit into the classic setting of an old English mansion, it turns out that Larita herself posed for it naked. Could there be something worse? Perhaps. For example, hunting is an event that gathers the most famous people in the local society. Or Philip, frankly flirting with an American in front of Hilda. However, the ladies still don't know who they play against. While everyone is riding horses, Larita gets on James's motorcycle and brings real chaos to the traditional English entertainment. And again, the women are opposed to the uncomfortable American, and the men are subdued by her cheerful recklessness. When Larita and John dance to the gramophone in the evening, the girl is suddenly intercepted by James, who makes several circles around the room with her. It is difficult to judge a man against the background of local cold and boring ladies. She seems to be a ray of light, which attracts her. Next to the restless daughter-in-law, he rests his soul. Nevertheless, John feels the need to apologize to his mother for his wife's antics and goes up to Veronica's room in the evening. But the conversation takes an unpleasant turn when the woman admits that the family is almost ruined, and she is forced to sell the land to maintain the same standard of living. Larita continues to bond with James. Long and trustworthy conversations did their thing in the workshop, where John's father loves to spend time. The man reveals a family secret, telling his daughter-in-law that he returned home only because his wife secretly came for him after the war. Now Larita begins to understand him better. The situation in the house is increasingly oppressive to the American. She's tempted to do something crazy to escape the oppressive atmosphere and, at the same time, try to restore the faltering intimacy with her husband. The couple climbs into an abandoned tower on the outskirts of the estate and makes love, but Veronica appears at the door leading a group of hunters at the most unexpected moment. The mistress of the house is horrified by the obscene scene and the unacceptably easy behavior of her daughter-in-law. The next blow to Larita's back is delivered by Hilda, who secretly contacts her uncle from America and receives clippings from old newspapers. It turns out that Larita was accused of the death of her first husband, and although the process ended in an acquittal, this is an indelible stain of shame. John's mother and sisters attack Larita like a pack of angry furies. Worst of all, John seems to be swaying to their side. In addition to James, outraged by the attacks, no one supports the girl. Larita begins to realize that she made a mistake by getting married. John is not the man she needs. He can't give the love and support that a girl needs. The Whittakers are having a party. Guests gossip, and someone mockingly asks whom the strange daughter-in-law will poison today. Larita refuses to go down to the guests, but this doesn't bother John. He dances and has fun, ignoring his father's requests to go upstairs. In the end, James goes to Larita to ask if she is all right. In a sincere conversation that has already become habitual, the girl admits that she and John have no future. However, Larita finds the strength to wear her formal dress and go down to the guests. At first, it seems this is a mistake. She looks like a stranger on this holiday, and even John doesn't want to support the girl, refusing to dance with her. Luckily, the faithful James is around again to offer his help to Larita and amaze all the guests with a passionate tango. Let Veronica be angry as much as you like, neither of them cares. After the dance, Larita returns to her room, changes into travel clothes, and goes to the door to leave the house. Confronted along the way by Sarah, she asks for the girl's forgiveness for standing between her and John and advises her to marry him, as they are better suited to each other. Veronica, with her daughters, finds them in the lobby and demands that Larita immediately leave her house. Well, the girl does it with a light heart and without malice. She even advises Hilda and Marion to leave too, to live their lives without their mother's pressure. She confesses to John that she poisoned her husband with cancer to save him from suffering. That's the kind of person she needs, determined, strong, capable of doing anything for the sake of his beloved, and this is not John. The daughter-in-law allows herself one last prank. At the exit, she overturns and breaks Veronica's favorite statue into pieces. Butler Ferber escorts the girl to the car. However, there is a surprise waiting for us at the end. At the last moment, James sits in the next seat and asks Ferber to see that they send them the Art Nouveau painting on the wall. The couple moves away from the mansion to live together as they wish.